Well, unfortunately for all you Indian fans, it wasn't a Sunday to savor. It was Australia's day out, and boy, didn't they deserve it. They become the first team in ICC history to complete their trophy cabinet. That's pretty much how we started the first Quarrel with Farrell show, and we'll do so with the last one right here, right now. Right on the show today, we of course get fan cams.
Okay.
Mel is happy. He has the most
Does
expensive.
his last name start with a K?
Yes.
So you know
Well
I
done.
have it. I don't want to spoil it for the viewers.
And of course, prizes to be won if Mel doesn't win them already. Yes, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Avanish Hegde, a dejected Avanish Hegde, and I have a very pleasant looking Mel Farrell, and the sun's still shining on her in Australia quite strongly. Mel, fantastic performance in Australia, and congratulations, the best team certainly won.
Hey, you don't have to congratulate me. I didn't do anything. It was those 11 players on the field. Some terrific catching today, some fantastic bowling, particularly Scott Boland. I think the way he set up Virat Kohli was absolutely sensational, and it's what we've come to expect in his very short Test career. That hasn't been going that long, but he just keeps doing it. As Pat Cummins said after the match, he just does it so often. You almost just expect it, and in fact, it's quite special. And that just seemed to deflate everything. The crowd at that point, you could just feel the air almost go out of them, even though they were still enjoying the rest. They were still supporting as much as they could. But you kind of felt once that happened, we spoke about it yesterday, the conventional chase, fifth day starts out with all that hope, and then it can end very quickly. And that was the case here.
Yeah, absolutely. Scotty Boland will be a name to remember for sure. Even though he's 34, he's a late bloomer if there ever was, and well done to him and Travis Head, who pocketed the man of the match. Now, before we get into the segments on Quarrel with Farrell, I just want to ask Mel about those press conferences. She just shed light on Pat Cummins and what he said. But what did Rohit Sharma say in the press conference? We saw a little bit of it so far here, but I just wanted to get a sense of understanding in that room. What was the energy? What was the tonality? And was there a sort of indication there was dejection yet again for this Indian team?
Well, obviously, he was very disappointed. And you could see that in his answers about wishing that there were, it was a 3-test series as a final at the end of all of that. Pat Cummins, in response, basically said, nah, it's sport. You get, an Olympic final comes down to 100 meters, a sort of 10, 11 second moments in time, and that's kind of what happens in sport. So he disagreed with that. I know that I thought what was interesting was Rohit talking about the next cycle and looking at the brand of cricket. It's such a hackneyed, overused phrase in cricket, never even quite sure what it means, but I guess in looking forward at the next cycle, what sort of team they want, what kind of cricket they want to play, and then look at it up to the end of the next cycle, hopefully for India, another appearance at something like this. But he was also, pretty honest when asked about the fact that the IPL goes right up until this World Test Championship final. And it's not ideal, no matter how professional players are in preparing and trying to get themselves ready for a test. It's not ideal. But in the same way, Australia didn't have any warm-ups for this. So they were fresh, most of them coming into this. So I guess you weigh up which way you look at it. And I noticed Rohit the next one I believe is slated for Lords in a couple of years' time, but he was questioning why it needed to be played in England and why at this time of the year, why not March? I think part of the reason that it is here and it is this time of year is that the Southern Hemisphere summer and the shoulder seasons around it are so packed. This is actually, in England, it's probably the cleanest or clearest time in the calendar. And I think that's one of the reasons that it's held at this time, because you have to have that window for all teams, no matter where they are. So it was interesting. There's clearly disappointment. There's perhaps some dissatisfaction with the way it all comes down to possibly a team who hasn't had great preparation having to come and perform in a one-off test. That's what we've got. It's imperfect, but that's what we've got to work with.
Absolutely. Some pertinent points mentioned by Rohit Sharma there, and well summed up by Mel as well. Let's move on to the first segment of Quarrel with Farrell then for today's show, and it is, of course,
Howzzat!
Yep, and how's that? We're asking Mel a certain talking point which has probably clouded this test in many ways. The exclusion of Ravichandran Ashwin. I know it's beautiful in hindsight and all of that, but it just makes me think deeper, right? Is it just a batter thing where you're dropping bowlers based on conditions? And should that change going forward in cricket in general, leaving a spinner out, even if he has the numbers to back it up, in this case, Ashwin's regard? Or should it still be horses for courses only for bowlers and not batters? So my question is, should this be now both facets of the game, let alone one?
I think teams are going to look at it differently just based on what's in front of them. You say in hindsight, a lot of people were calling before the test started for Ashwin to be included. For me, that was sort of about, you want your best players playing, and Ashwin, for me, is the sort of bowler who I just feel like can get something if he's got half of a sniff of anything to aid him. That for me is you want your best players. Is he one of India's best bowlers in an 11? I always think yes, but I don't know, maybe I'm a bit biased that way. But I think teams are always going to look at that way. The way the schedules are now and the way everything is so crammed, there are going to be times when teams in series are going to have to manage their bowlers over an entire series, because now you look ahead to the Ashes. Well, there's 5 tests in like 6-7 weeks, so you have to kind of look on it as a whole. And now India are going to have 5 test series against Australia and England as well. So when you have particularly long series, I think that's going to mean teams have to look at it perhaps a little bit holistically. It's a juggling act. I don't think it's easy. It's very easy for us to, obviously as armchair selectors, to sit there and say, we would have picked this person or that person, or they should do this or that. There are a lot of other things that go into it. You also, you've got to pick your team before you go to the coin toss, and that's the other thing as well. So I guess you kind of want to have all your bases covered. Ashwin's inclusion may have made absolutely no difference whatsoever. We don't know. It might not have changed the result at all. Travis Head may still have scored 150 something runs. India's batters, they may still have collapsed at certain times. So we can't say that for certain, but it will undoubtedly, be discussed, I think, a lot more, certainly with India's passionate cricket fans. And it's hard because, you've got one test to get it right. That's it. There's no coming back. There's no coming back for next week and another bite at the cherry. That's it. So for me, I tend to think you want your best players. Conditions come into that, of course, but you want your best players.
Yeah, you certainly do. And it just makes you think about how often we compare cricket with football, and how football squads these days have about 20, 22 players, 2 positions for each role, and whether cricket goes down that route in terms of test match cricket, if you have away test specialists, so on and so forth. So look, that's something to really think about. Let's move on then, and the next segment in terms of
Mel's Pick of the Day.
Not much to talk about on day 5, the way India's shambles kind of hit us hard so quickly and rapidly, but I'm guessing it's the usual suspect. Go for it, Mel.
Oh, well, I'm just going to pick today. It's that Scott Boland element. The way, as I said, he set up Virat Kohli beautifully, and then came in with the sucker ball, had him guessing which way it was going to go. It was there. It was too tempting. Capped off with it. It's almost a cliche now. Steve Smith in the slips, in that sort of, he wasn't quite the starfish Steve Smith that we're used to seeing spread-eagled in the air. That's how he takes so many slips catches, but it was brilliant work. And it just poses such an interesting question. We've been talking about the big 3 in Australian fast bowling ranks, of Cummins, Stark, and Hazelwood. And is it the big three anymore? Scott Boland has made such an impact since he made his debut at the MCG during the last Ashes in Australia. And he continues to do it, produce those magic balls, those magic spells, incredibly difficult lengths that seem to challenge batters from all parts of the world. So he did it again. Is it the big three? Do we have to start saying the big four? Maybe we should.
Yeah, we should, definitely. I mean, there were comparisons on Twitter with Scott Boland and Vernon Philander, McGrath and Pollock way back in the day, and he really can hit the coin if you actually put a coin on the pitch. The fact that he was so immaculate, like Mel said. Right, Scott Boland, no prizes for guessing. He was my man of the match, just the fact that he was just so economical and created the pressure from one end for the bowler to thrive from the other. But unfortunately, no fun segment as such today, but let's move on to Who Am I and make you win some prizes.
Who am I?
Mel has not had such a good time with these quizzes as you've seen in the previous shows, but I'll have to do my job and, of course, ask her and the viewers again to have their say in the one today. All players in this quiz are India and Australia Test players. Winners only win if they get all three answers right, and all answers should be in the comments below. And obviously, whoever wins this particular competition, DM us on Twitter and we'll get in touch with you to win your merchandise. So let's get on with it. So the first player we're going to
point out, I end up realizing who at least some of them are about an hour later. I'm like, I sent you a message yesterday, in fact, going, oh God, that was so obvious. How did I not think of that at the time? There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, she must have got it. It will definitely hit her. And then she did. I mean, she texted me later. Right, so let's see if she can get the first one. Here it is. 3 clues. He's an Australian Test cricketer, that is. Now, his first international wicket was Sachin Tendulkar. He played just the one Test match. And he also made his Test debut alongside Cheteshwar Pujara in that same game. So who is it? He's a tall bloke. I can give you that for another clue. It's a very common name, if I may add.
A very common name?
Yeah, a very common name.
There are a lot of really common names.
I mean, this one's kind of really common. Or maybe that's just me in my own world. But look, that's the first one.
Common where?
World over. World over. Even in some parts of India, actually. Kerala in particular.
In Kerala? Although I don't know what names are popular in Kerala.
All right, let's see if we can get the second Who Am I today. And it's another Australian for this one. And it is this man we're talking about, or we're hinting about rather. The clues, as you can see, he played 10 international matches for Australia. He has the most expensive 8 fur in Test cricket. And he made his debut against India. For the benefit of Mel, we'll show her the bigger picture. He's, of course, on his knees over there.
Yeah, can you unblur the face?
Being cheeky as ever. So yeah, I mean, he has the most expensive.
Does his last name start with a K?
Yes.
So you know well, I have it. I don't want to spoil it for the viewers.
No, but I know you've got it. So we'll give you that. Well played. Let's get the last one then. And guys, let us know in the comments below. Remember, the people who get all 3 right and the first one does, of course, win the merchandise. Here is the last one. It's an Indian player we're talking about with the clue and the picture over there. Now, this man made his debut against South Africa, but he's well known for his performances against Australia. He is also a commentator right now, and he's played his entire domestic career with the Indian Railways. I'm guessing Mel would have definitely bumped into him in the comm box somewhere in her working career.
So,
not sure.
Well, is he commentating on this match?
No.
Oh, right. I have bumped into a couple of us in this match, but in that case, it's just hard because a lot of players play for Railways.
Does his last name start with K?
Does his last name start with K? Oh, yeah, his last name starts with K. You can give me that one as well.
Yeah, for sure. So, guys, like you keep saying, honestly, lots of merchandise to win, and Mel would have definitely definitely enjoyed the merchandise because she got the couple of right ones. I'm assuming so. But we'll leave it there. It's been a sensational 5 days of Test cricket. And like I said at the top of the show, well played, Australia. Any parting words on Quarrel with Farrell, Melinda?
Well, we didn't actually quarrel too much, did we? And I think that says something about cricket, doesn't it? We don't always have to quarrel. It can be the meeting of different countries from around the world, just enjoying Test cricket together.
Absolutely. I mean, I essentially thought about this show and I was like, I'm not such a, a conflicty guy. I'm a very peaceful, happy-go-lucky. I was like, out of there, I'm going to get into quarreling with Mel, but we've loved it. And so have the viewers. The views also have been sensational. Follow Mel on her personal handles. We'll drop it in the description below. And of course, subscribe to cricket.com if you're new here. Like this video as much as possible. And who knows, the next time we talk about Test cricket, it'll be a month's time from now with regards to India. But the Ashes, like I said, is definitely around the corner. So lots of cricket to still follow. Until the next time, it's a goodbye. We'll see you soon.